Hey, what's up with you guys? Hope you guys are well. It's been quite a while since we talked last time. I want to reconnect with you. Many of you are users of Uniswap.com to manage tool to track and manage your liquidity in Uniswap. We know Uniswap is exploding these days with DeFi booming, and in terms of many people are sort of approaching DeFi by providing liquidity to one of the Uniswap pools. And Uniswap.com allows you to identify the pools where you can invest your liquidity, can provide you the best yield, as well as once you invested, really track your investment. So I was chatting with a user today, and by the way, within the tool, if you happen to use it, there are like multiple entry points where you can connect directly with me, either on Twitter or on Telegram. So I was chatting today with a user on Telegram, and he asked me a few questions that I thought you may be interested in hearing the answer to as well. So I had to talk to create this video. Now, before diving in, I also wanted to point your attention to this other video that we just recorded as a mini interview conversation chat about DeFi and the prospect and the future for DeFi with Amadeo Brands, who is doing a great job in terms of education around DeFi and really evangelizing and educating people around what's going on. So I'll include the video, the link to the video in the description. If you guys are interested, you can check it out. Now, coming to the question of this user. By the way, thank you so much for writing in. I have so many conversations with you guys. It's really fun. It's really interesting also for me to stay updated on what's going on with DeFi, specifically Uniswap. By the way, when I created the project like a year ago, I didn't imagine that Uniswap would grow so much. And I showed you these stats already a few times, but look at this. This is the growth of Uniswap.roi.com per se. Forget about this developer stuff, just to format the chart in a way that you can see it well. So think about like the exponential growth that even like my tool is really having as a result of the growth of Uniswap. And this, you can see this in the liquidity provided in almost every metric around the protocol is really exciting. Now, let's get down to the question. So the question of this user essentially is like this. So, do you have any advice or strategy for investing in liquidity pools? I'm wondering if timing, adding liquidity to a pool in Uniswap makes a difference. So, and if there is a methodology to when add your tokens, is it best done when prices of both assets are down, or one if it's down significantly? So essentially, like, is in terms of the strategy, is it the timing a factor? And and he said, like, I'm just confused what the optimal based. What is optimal based on how pool share, token dilution all works together? So that's I thought it was a great question. By the way, I'm asked about this all the time. So when is the best, what is the best strategy, and when is best to invest in a pool? So first off, I would say that Uniswap, and we mentioned this already a few times, is a long-term investment protocol. So it's not really suited for necessarily having a return, an immediate return in whatever, in a matter of days, and having assets that are exploding, but rather is really a tool where yield is generated over time. Don't forget that the yield in Uniswap comes from the fees. Fees comes from a traded activity by users that are swapping tokens. So really what you want is a pair where there is a lot of volume, and so people are really exchanging and they're accumulating fees. But don't forget that these fees will accumulate over time. So the strategy, in my view, is more of a long-term asset holding strategy. And by the way, when you if you decided to invest and then you can track your liquidity using Uniswap RI, you will always see sort of free value here at the top of your page. The value you invested, you can have this in dollars or in Ethereum, but essentially the value you invested, the value of your investment today, and the value of your investment if you held the same amount of token and Ethereum, but outside of Uniswap. And so the difference, like the impact of Uniswap is having, is really the difference between these two values here at the top, right? What you would have if you would have done, if you would have just held your assets outside of Uniswap, and what you have today with Uniswap. So this is really the impact of Uniswap. Now, so the strategy we said is a more of a long-term strategy. Now, there is an exception, which is Amplify, and Amplify probably deserves videos on his own and a special treatment, because it's such a incredible what's going on there. Where actually, I'll explain in a second, but where even all the Uniswap can be very profitable, or at least like at this specific point in time is actually showing very profitable. But in general, it's more of a long-term strategy. Now, what are the other factors? So the user is asking, what about prices? Should I invest when the prices are down or when the prices are up? So essentially, let's check out this a second. So for example, if I go in the section pools, I take, for example, the highest liquidity, the tokens you guys know, everybody knows, like USDC, DAI, right, ANT, LAND. Let's take, for example, USDC. So here, the factor, one of the important factor when you invest in Uniswap is, well, it can be important or relatively important, not necessarily super important, but it's called this impermanent loss. Now, the impermanent loss is determined when the price of the two assets, for example, in this case, Ethereum, USDC, they vary as you're holding inside of Uniswap, they vary relative to each other. So, for example, if the price of the price of USDC is paired to $1, so it doesn't really vary. But if the price of Ethereum, for example, goes a lot up a lot or down a lot, then there is a difference in the price. So the exchange price USDC Ethereum will change, and this essentially is the driver for the so-called impermanent loss. So you essentially want the ratio of the price to stay as stable as possible during the period where you're holding your asset within Uniswap. We mean actually the ratio between the two. So let me give you an example. For example, USDC Ethereum. As we said, USDC is paired to the dollar, so it doesn't really change. Ethereum can change up or down. You want, if you're, for example, investing in this pair, you're betting that the price of Ethereum right now, it won't change significantly. Significantly, we mean like 10 times, right? If it does, a plus 40%, minus 40%, plus even 100%, the impermanent loss that we're looking is, in the range of maybe a few percentage points. So it's not that necessarily significant. But if you expect Ethereum to, go to $2,000, then yes, it's not worth investing or providing the liquidity to this pair. But for example, if we take, for example, Ethereum synthetics, just to give you an idea, where actually the ratio between synthetics is not paired to the dollar, and it's much more linked to it. The performance of synthetics is much more linked to the performance of Ethereum. So it's not necessarily true, but it's true that if the price of Ethereum will go up, the price of synthetics and all the ERC20 tokens, they are impacted as well. They probably go up, with a strong correlation. Same thing is if they go down. So in this case, basically what you want is that, let's say, if the price of Ethereum goes up, but also the price of synthetics goes up as a result of Ethereum going up, then you don't have the effect of the impermanent loss, because the ratio between the two are, is sort of constant. So what I'm saying is, you want that ratio to be as constant as possible. But the other element that you want is really the volume on the pair, right? So you want that essentially the pair where you invest to be a pair that is sought after, that there is a lot of volume and therefore there are a lot of fees. And whatever, I explained this already, there is a video in terms of how to select the pools to invest. Maybe you can check that out. And in general, within the tool, there are all sort of calculations that you can see, and you can zoom into a pool, you can understand exactly what's going on. Now, as I said, there is a special case, which is Amplify. Now, if you look at Amplify, is as I said, it deserves a special treatment. It deserves to be probably a video on its own. It's the first pool of Uniswap these days, and if you look at the return, it's not even that great per se. I mean, we're talking, equivalent APR 9% a year. But the reason why a lot of people are investing in Amplify is because of the rebases, which is not specific to Uniswap, it's specific to really Amplify, the way it works. And so actually the people that are investing in Amplify and they are providing liquidity to the Ethereum Amplify pair, they are making a return which is substantially higher than this. On top of that, there is a staking program which is called Geyser. And so what happens is, a lot of people are providing liquidity into Uniswap, they're enjoying the rebases, and then they're locking the Uniswap pools into the Geyser to get even more staking and even more return. So that's a sort of a special case where, in a sense, they're even providing liquidity to Uniswap, and we're talking in this specific moment in time. I don't know what's going to happen, right, in a few days or in a few months. Nobody knows, but is actually proving a very sort of profitable strategy in the short term. But typically, I would say Uniswap is a long-term investment strategy. It works when you expect the relative price of the asset not to change too much, and it works when the volume, right, in the pair that you invested is really strong and there is a strong demand for it. So I hope this sort of answer is useful for you guys. If you have any questions, as usual, get in touch with me directly. There are, like, if you use uniswap.com, there are buttons everywhere where you can connect with me. And if you like the tool, if you like the content, share it, subscribe. And if you like the tool, spread the voice. It's really helpful, and it's really great to see you guys coming on board and with your question and really, the passion for DeFi and start really making this real. So thank you very much. Talk soon.